Hello everyone, welcome back. It's me, John, here with another itchy mystery to tell you guys about. And I feel like I've gotten kind of lucky over the past few weeks. I hit another one that I feel very strongly about. On top of me feeling strongly about it, it is also an Oscar Award winner. This one is called Murder on a Sunday Morning. It came out in 2001 here in the US. I believe it was released a couple years later in France also. It's strange because when I was watching it, it kind of reminded me a bit of another film that I had seen called The Staircase. It is a story about a 15-year-old African American who is seemingly wrongfully accused of murdering a woman who is on vacation with her husband in Jacksonville, Florida. And it's great because the way that they unfold the story, they don't really tell you up front, is this person guilty or innocent? They just kind of introduce you to the defense team. And this film certainly focuses on the public defender's point of view. As a matter of fact, I would say that he is kind of the star of the movie for me. By the end of it, you really get to like this character. I really appreciate what he stands for, and he's trying to give these people fair trials, and he's butting up against some pretty powerful adversaries, and he's handling them in really interesting to watch ways. This film does feel a lot like a court drama. A lot of the footage that you're going to see is actually from the real court case. There is some footage that takes place outside of that, but it's not particularly scenic in any way. You know, I always kind of keep an eye for that when I'm watching these documentaries. Are they picking interesting shots? This feels more almost like kind of a news segment in terms of how it's shot. But the way that the story is unfolding, the way it's being told, it's just got a great director behind it. And I didn't even know until I looked into the details after I watched it, but it is directed by the same person that directed The Staircase, which is one of my all-time favorite documentary series, and for a lot of similar reasons to why I like this one. They both are representing the defense team. They kind of have that in common. But this is a little bit of a different story because we have someone here that is seemingly wrongfully accused. I guess you could say that about The Staircase, but by the end of that film, you're really not sure if that person is necessarily wrongfully accused. What this movie has that The Staircase doesn't quite have is a pretty heavy commentary about police interacting with African Americans. And several of the things that, when I look into all these cases I do every week for all my shows, it's tough when you bump into some information where someone might be claiming that the police aren't doing everything that they could be doing for someone. Or what's worse, the police are working together to cover up something that has happened. All of those issues come directly into play in this film. In a pretty unique way. Not only the question of, are police capable of covering each other, covering each other's backs, so to speak, when someone does something wrong, but even the simple question of, are police always doing the best job that they could be doing, particularly if they're investigating a case like a murder or a missing person or something along those lines. And then outside of all that, you're left with this question of, can the justice system catch up and make those things right if those wrongs have indeed happened? And this documentary just tackles all of those questions in a very hands-off way. I mean, it's really almost like the universe wanted to tell this story, and the director was just smart enough to get the footage and put it in the right order and release it. It's strange because a lot of times I'll watch a documentary and I'll feel like, oh my God, the director is manhandling this. They're trying to jam this perspective down our throat. You can tell by how they select scenes, by how they edit dialogue, by the type of music that they use. And I just got none of those triggers while I was watching this film. It just seemed extremely fair. And then as you're going along, you're learning about these injustices happening and you're like, whoa, hold on a second. This is what I'm afraid of in reality. And now here's a film that is actually reflecting, yes, those types of events do happen. Now, that's not to say that that speaks for every investigator or police officer out there, certainly not. As a matter of fact, there's even a little touch of that in this. There are good people that are working in these jobs as well, but the fears of people either not doing the job properly or being somewhat crooked in the job are very dramatically raised in this. There was one moment in particular, I don't want to blow it for you guys, where I laughed out loud, and that almost never happens when I'm watching a documentary like this, unless there's something so crazy going on that it just makes me laugh and shake my head. But it wasn't that kind of laugh. It was a genuine moment of, oh my God, did that guy just say that? And in a good way. All I'm going to say is the cigarette joke. So for those of you that want to check it out, just keep that in your mind. John said something about a cigarette joke and then it made him laugh out loud. You'll get to the moment, I'm pretty sure. And it's rare for a documentary to hit me on so many emotional levels where it's got me thinking deeply about the types of problems that African Americans can face in a court of law or when being handled by officers. Of course, there's the aspect of the tragedy of this woman that was on vacation being killed and what happens around that investigation. Do they ever get to the truth of it? And then what happens ultimately at the end is a bit of a brain twist where you're just like, I can't believe that is the actual truth, and who found that actual truth. It's kind of crazy. So let me just say, I can't recommend this film enough. I would give it an 8.5. I'm only going to trim a little bit off of it because, like I said, not super visually compelling. The music that's in it, you know, it's 2001, but it kind of has this cheesy hip hop music that feels like it's from like 1992 or 93. They don't use it a whole lot, and it's weird because in certain places it kind of felt appropriate in some way, but then in other places it was like, wow, this music feels just a little cheesy. So production quality in terms of how it's assembled could maybe be a little bit better, but in terms of how the story is unfolding, in terms of how the director is handling the material, in terms of how the director is keeping himself removed and not trying to alter the actual events or the course of what's going on, it is firing on all cylinders. And in short, if you've seen The Staircase and you appreciated that, you have to see this. You have to see Murder on a Sunday Morning. Now it is available. I did see, it looks like there's a few listings of it on YouTube. I didn't watch it there. I watched it on Amazon, where you can rent it for only a couple bucks, and you know that you're supporting the right people if you do it that way. I'm not even sure, you know, sometimes I see listings on YouTube and you go and click on them and they're just clickbait to try to get you to go sign in on some other website to see it or something like that. So I don't know if those are legit. I'm not going to put any of those down below, but know that you can rent it on Amazon for a few dollars, or you can try to find it on whatever other video platform you prefer out there. I don't think it's very hard to get to, but it is certainly worth your time. And I can't, it's a pretty rare case because I can't think of any conditions to tell you about where it might not be the right type of movie for you. Certainly, if you're an American and you're thinking about all the events that we've seen in the news over the past couple of years, this movie's right up your alley. If you are living outside of America and you're just aware of some of the events that we've been seeing going on, particularly between African Americans and law enforcement, you will gain something by watching this movie. And there's something to be said about some reinforcement of these fears that some of us have out here, that sometimes a conspiracy can happen to protect certain types of people. This movie certainly shows a very strong example of that occurring. So I really think there's something in it for everyone out there. I'm pretty sure this is going to be on my top 10 list when I get to the end of the year and look back at this year of reviews and pick a top 10 for you guys. It's really, really strong. So I hope you will check it out. I hope that you do enjoy it. If you do, thank you so much for spending a little time with me here on Itchy Mysteries. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I will catch you back here on the Lord and Arch channel. Take care, everyone. See you again soon.